Hello EFD squad and welcome back to Transfer Review, and another big welcome back to Sam, who is joining us today to discuss the biggest moves from around Europe. Sam, we're kicking off with Bruno Fernandez, but it's not to Spurs, obviously. It's not to Man United, obviously.
Yeah.
It's to Real Madrid.
I know, it's crazy. It's actually crazy. Apparently, Real Madrid are reportedly going to make a last-minute bid for Sporting midfielder Bruno Fernandez. This is after they've been unable to get Paul Pogba away from Manchester United, with the fee at £153 million demanded for the Frenchman. A Portuguese national newspaper has reported that he is going to cost Perez £63 million, and after Sporting signed him for £8.5 million in 2017, he'd spent 5 years in Italy, and most notably at Udinese and Sampdoria. And of course, Manchester United were linked with him because they were trying to find an attacking midfielder to accommodate for, Jesse Lingard's weakish numbers, Apparently he was the...
You don't want to be mean about Jesse Lingard. I can feel it, but...
I don't want to because I like him, however...
I don't like him at all, but I think he is a good footballer.
Yeah.
But his numbers are not tremendous.
Yeah, his numbers aren't great, so that's why they were after Fernandez. But with the prices going around him, I don't think that they're in for him anymore. His success last season was well documented. Obviously, he got 20 goals and 13 assists in Liga NOS for a central midfielder. And in all competitions, he got 31 goals in the 18-19 campaign. That is the most scored for a midfielder in a single campaign in a top European league. More than Lampard. Obviously, I didn't want to mention that.
Top European league also. Like, are we just sneaking that in? A top European league?
Yeah, top-ish. They've got a few decent teams.
Sure.
The next bit I'm not really trying to mention, but of course, yeah, he got more than Lampard's 27 in 2009, 2010. But, Lampard done it in a much difficult league, so...
Penalties, just penalties.
See, he's always trying to get on to Lamp. Fernandez has stayed in the headlines this weekend when he assisted all 3 goals for Sporting's 3-1 win over Portimonense. Yeah. Is that how you say it? Go on, you tell me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a Portuguese expert, so I just kind of go for Spanish. So yeah, Portimonense is what I'd say. But anyway, already at this early stage this season, a goal and 4 assists in domestic play. That's a goal involvement every 54 minutes. That actually is somehow improving on last season, where, as Sam said, 33 goal involvements in the domestic league, 1 every 89 minutes. That was amongst the best in European football. 3.6 shots, 3.2 dribbles per 90, both comfortably the best in the Sporting squad, though his shot locations, not amazing. The thing about Lampard, when Lampard got all those goals in a season, is Lampard was amazing at getting really good shots from inside the box, and he'd score some from range, and he'd get a bunch of penalties, whereas Fernandez is really good at shooting from long distance, but even the best players in the world don't routinely score long distance goals. So,
but do you think that's more down to the structure of the football game now? It's a bit more regimented, where 2 teams are more tactical. Do you get what I'm saying? There's not that much space for a midfielder.
Maybe, but I think also it's just a talent that nobody really has to a great extent. Like, look at Ronaldo. Ronaldo shoots about 7 times a game and averages about a goal per game. So that tells you that most of his shots are pretty wayward. Like Messi doesn't score that much from outside the box, mostly because he knows he can get into the box and get a better shot. But if you think about Felipe Coutinho, some of these players who are renowned for their ability to shoot from long range, even they only get a handful in the season. So I think it's likely that his goal-scoring numbers would drop down this season if he continues to shoot the same way. If he manages to get better chances for himself, who knows, maybe he can maintain it. He's not that involved in play as a central midfielder. 53 passes a game with a 75% accuracy. That's actually quite low for a centre mid, especially in the Portuguese league, where the big teams are so dominant. And it suggests that he's playing high-risk passes a lot of the time. 75% accuracy is what you'd expect from a forward rather than a midfielder. 4.3 long balls a match, so it seems that he's hitting pretty directly. And 1.7 tackles a game. Now, actually, in his last season in Italy, he put up very reasonable defensive numbers. I think it was about 3.5 tackles and interceptions per game. That's dropped right down. So if you think of him as a second forward, his defensive contribution is good. If you think of him as a central midfielder, his defensive contribution is pretty weak. So it really depends where you're going to play him. And he is 2 years younger than Jesse Lingard. He probably would have had a good place in Man United's squad, though I do think what they needed was a defensive midfielder and they could push Pogba forward.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't really stick with that intent over the summer to get him.
Yeah.
I think he even said he wanted to go. So,
but I'd have gone for a DM. I just think, like, you've got a guy who last season had like 20 plus goal. I think he had 22 goal involvements in the Premier League. And yes, there were a bunch of penalties, but he actually underperformed his expected goals and assists. You're like, that is a guy who is an elite attacker, an elite athlete, an intelligent player who also can play different roles. Not that he's done that at Man United, but he did it at Juve, certainly. Whereas Bruno Fernandez is a good attacker in a bad league. That's kind of it. I don't know. It just seems like Real Madrid... Yes, Real Madrid need midfield reinforcements. I do not think Bruno Fernandes would be the right player.
I don't think he would fit into their system. And I think also them having Rodriguez coming back as well.
And they've got Isco.
No
one ever talks about Isco anymore.
Yeah,
he's quite good.
I think Real Madrid will be fine, like for the rest of the season. But if they do want to get an attacking midfield, I don't think Fernandes will be the man.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably use one of the elite attacking midfielders they've got, but we'll poll it anyway. Real Madrid fans, let us know in the poll above. Would Fernandes be a good signing for your club? Let us know.
So our next transfer is, according to Gianluca DiMaggio, AC Milan are close to securing the signature of Juventus centre-back Merih Demiral. The 21-year-old joined the Bayern Canary in July and was only officially unveiled as a Juventus player last week. Which is a bit weird. But anyway, so he started the year on Sporting's books whilst on loan at Turkish side Allianspor before the mid-table team made the move permanent for 3.5 million euros. So less than a fortnight later, he'd moved on to Sassuolo, who loaned him with an obligation to buy, and then became a permanent from July the 1st for 10 million euros. And then 4 days later, Juve snapped him up for 80 million euros. And now, without playing for an official game in Turin, he's moving on again to Milan for 35 to 40 million euros.
What's happened with this guy?
Is he good?
Like, I don't know.
I've watched him, and I can't lie, I genuinely think he's going to be a good centre-back in the Italian league. But it doesn't look like a team, wants to stick with him.
This is like when you're in a when you're single and you have no success at all, and then you're in a relationship and suddenly everybody's interested.
Everyone's onto you,
So this guy, everyone's just like, whoa, like, I'll definitely have that. Like, I genuinely would love to know what his wages were on loan in Turkey and what his wages are now. Apparently, we've been told behind the camera that his wages could rise to 2.6 mil. I think they report those after tax.
That is crazy.
In Turkey, so that'll be like 100k a week pre-tax. I bet he was on about 500k.
And he's only 21 years old. So I'm thinking, why would Juventus want to sell him? But as it stands, he's 5th in the centre-backs ranking order, obviously behind De Ligt, behind Bonucci, behind Chiellini, and Rugani, which they're also kind of looking to get rid of as well. So it's either him or Rugani. So Sarri's obviously not keen on keeping him, and as they're trying to get people back, get money from the players that they bought this season, I think he's one of the players that they're looking to just offload.
I don't know though. Like they've done a lot of transfer work in the defence, right? So they brought in De Ligt, they brought in Danilo, they've brought in Luca Pellegrini, Demiral, Christian Romero, and Luca Pellegrini's gone back out on loan.
Yeah,
Romero's gone back out on loan. Demiral's going to be sold. So their big defensive rebuild has ultimately brought in like 2 guys. Yeah. But and one of them is a 28-year-old, or however old he is, 28-year-old Danilo. So the only we were like, oh, this is the summer that they've completely rejuvenated their back line. And all they've actually done is bring in like De Ligt. Yeah. That's it.
But also the players that they have brought in, like Luca Pellegrini, like Demiral, they're all going on loan to teams in Italy, and decent size as well, where they'll get good enough experience. So if you give them 2 years maybe max, and then let them come back, because Bonucci and Chiellini, they're not lasting that long.
True. I suppose. But I mean, the good thing is, I guess, that Pellegrini's gone on loan to Cagliari, where he was for a bit of last season. So he obviously knows the club and fits in and is going to play. And same for Romero. Romero is pretty much an ever-present for Genoa. He's gone back to Genoa. To be honest, I think Demiral looks really good as well. Yeah. So let's have a little look at his numbers. He's only played 6 months of Serie A football, obviously, but 3.6 tackles and interceptions per 90, which is a lot for a centre-back, and was dribbled past only 5 times all campaign. He actually did play a little bit of right-back as well, I think, and he looks like a guy who'd be really good on the right side of a back 3. Like, super athletic, incredibly hard to get past, massive as well. I think he's 6'4". Yeah. So he was actually dribbled past fewer times than De Vrij at Inter or De Ligt at Ajax. Wins 2/3 of his aerial duels, which is really good for a young player. Generally wins about 3.5 aerial duels per 90, which is pretty good, and heavily involved in play at Sassuolo. 50 passes a match, 87% pass accuracy, already a part of the Turkish international setup. So, I don't know, he looks like a very good defender, but I also think if you sign a defender for 18 million euros, you'd be really happy if they turned into a 40 million euro player. Like, that would be a success. And so if Milan want to offer you, you're taking a gamble on a guy. If Milan want to offer you that money, they're offering you basically sure thing money for a guy who is a gamble.
Yeah.
So you kind of think, let's sell him? I don't know. I kind of don't mind that.
Yeah, I agree with that to a certain extent. But if he does turn out to be good, and like not even good, like to be a world-class centre-back, right-back, then they would have missed out on a very decent player, on a good buy.
Yeah, but they'll still have De Ligt, who's obviously probably going to be one of the best centre-backs in the world. They'll have Romero coming back in, and they can always buy more young defenders from Italy. Like,
they're keeping Rugani, so...
Yeah, but only because they can't sell him for the money they want, I think.
That's true.
I don't know, Man United were apparently interested in Demiral as well, so maybe that's what's pushed up the price. According to Fabio Paratici, who's the sporting director at Juve, United did make an offer for Demiral. So maybe it's one of those things. We've seen them do moves this summer that I don't think they were necessarily like wanting to do. I think they knew they had to make some sales. They couldn't shift Higuain, they couldn't shift Khedira, so they were kind of like, well, we're going to have to sell some of the younger guys who we didn't really want to, and as a result, you saw Dybala temporarily on the market. You've seen Pellegrini go out on loan, and now we're seeing Demiral being sold. So, yeah, I suppose they will be annoyed if he turns into a world-class player. But if he turns into anything less than a world-class centre-back, I don't think they'll be bothered.
Right, yeah.
So, I don't know. I think that this one is probably going to go through, unless they can find a buyer for Rugani before the deadline.
So the final transfer today is Bastos to Frankfurt, and that is after pulling in over 100 million euros for the sales of Luka Jovic to Real Madrid and Sebastian Haller to West Ham. Frankfurt have finally signed a replacement striker. And yes, it's surprising, obviously, because Bastos is 30 years old and has been at Sporting since 2016. But 30-year-old netted 23 goals in 33 games in all competitions and helped Sporting to win the Taça de Portugal and Taça da Liga, beating Porto on penalties in each. And in his last 3 years in Lisbon, he's totaled 93 goals in 125 matches. That is really good.
It's so much better than... I always hated Bastos, so I've always been anti him, but like his goal scoring record is pretty good.
That is very good. And he scored 76 in 84. So obviously that is...
What, in the league?
Yeah, in the league. So that is good numbers considering he is 30 years old.
For Portugal.
For Portugal.
For Portugal. Let's just leave that there for Portugal. Though he was good in Germany. He was good in Germany at Wolfsburg, wasn't he?
Considering the money that Frankfurt bought in is 100 million euros and they're reportedly buying it for 7 million euros. That is good. And Transfermarkt has put him as 20 million euros. So, you know,
so they got him for less than he's worth,
yeah.
They're saying. But they've got more money. Just buy another guy.
Yeah, but...
They got in Joveljic, right? They got in the kid, like, who was born in the same town as Luka Jovic and, like, played for Red Star Belgrade. And, like, it basically looks like a new version of Luka Jovic. So maybe their idea is this guy... You know, Bastos tides us over for a couple of years until Joveljic is like ready to bang.
Yeah, because obviously he's young. They've got another striker, Pacencia, who's 25 years old. So I'm guessing he's going to come in as the OG striker with some experience. And obviously he did play for Wolfsburg 3 seasons ago. And during his time in Bundesliga, he scored 36 goals in 85 league games across 4 seasons. And I know that's not great. But, you know, he's a bit older. You know, he's a bit...
Definitely.
He's a bit more seasoned, so...
Get better as they get older, do they?
No, but obviously the pressure's not going to be on him as much as the main striker. He's coming in to do more of a job as the seasoned striker, so he might be coming in the last 70 minutes, put more pressure on the centre-backs.
And I suppose they played 2 up front last season, right? Yeah. And, like, one guy was, like, Haller, who's, like, creative and big. And then the other guy was, like, the poacher. They've still got Rebic as well, right? Like, Rebic is still there. And so, I don't know, maybe their idea is, like, Haller will do some hold-up play and we'll get guys kind of running around him. I don't know.
And to be fair, if you look through his whole career, he scored 214 goals in 319 matches. That's more than every other game. So, he's had a good career.
Yeah, great.
And for Frankfurt that are looking to replace the numbers from Jovic and Haller, it's looking like a long shot, but at the same time, I do think that if you get in quick fixes with someone like Bastos, who can actually, that has experience in the league, that can give a few words to the younger strikers, it might be a good move for all parties involved.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, they haven't started the season terribly well though. Like, I mean, when you
they've
sell
won one and lost one.
But when you
That's
sell
not
your
too bad.
strikers, the last thing you want is for your attack to start the season slowly.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to be like story after story, and they've scored 2 goals in 2 games. Now, I know they played Leipzig, and Paciencia scored a really good goal against Leipzig, but they played Leipzig, fair enough. Was the other game maybe Hoffenheim? So that is quite a tough start to the season, I guess. So like maybe things will pick up a bit, but it's a little bit troubling. I mean, and Dost has been a reliable scorer in Portugal, and I think most of those goals he got in the Bundesliga were in that final season with Wolfsburg, where he was really good. But he's not exactly a shot monster. 2.8 shots per 90. That's obviously much lower than Jovic last season. More than Ante Rebic and Haller, but Haller and Rebic offered a lot more in terms of dribbling, ball progression, creativity. He is strong in the air, obviously at 6'5", wins 4 aerial duels a game. Not as many as Haller last season, but he still ranks second in the squad. And you'd have thought that it's just having a different kind of weapon.
Yeah.
Like, they've got Kostic as well, who's a great crosser of the ball. So I suppose it's possible that Dost would profit from those balls into the box from the left wing. Kostic has obviously joined on a permanent deal after being on loan last season. Plenty of deliveries out wide. They're going to need to go some, though, to get a Champions League place. They ended up 7th last season, having been in the driving seat at one stage for a Champions League spot. Went to the Europa League semi-finals, kind of put all their eggs in that basket, got overtaken by Leverkusen. Really, it was a very, very competitive end to the season in the top half of the table, and they slipped all the way down. And frankly, if they couldn't do it with Haller and Jovic, I don't really see them doing it with Bas Dost. So I don't know. I'm worried. I'm worried.
It could be all right. If he's not doing what they need him to do by January, then they still have the money there left over that they can look for, a quick fix again. Maybe.
Yeah, I guess like it's difficult to go and buy a striker when everyone knows you've got 100 mil.
Yeah.
Everybody is going to boost their prices by 20 or so mil. But anyway, it looks like his first league game could be against Dusseldorf on Sunday. And given that no Bundesliga side has conceded more than their 18 shots a game so far this season, that could be a nice debut for the Dutchman. But we will see. Is he going to work out for Frankfurt? Let us know in the comments below.
So that's it for Transfer Review this week. But as you know, the transfer window shuts on Monday. So we're doing a transfer review special next week. So we need your suggestions. We need the transfers that you think worked, transfers you think didn't work, transfers you think should have gone through, all of the transfer stuff in the comments below. Anything I'm missing, Pat?
No, we just want to hear about the transfers that we might have missed this summer that you'd like us to take a look at. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, drop us a comment below and hit the notification bell to never miss an EFD upload. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.